Shouts out to the heads that know. Never been seen like jet black snow. When I'm on stage with the mic in my hand, got the vibe with the gang and the rest lot know. Living in peace, use breath control, and if I'm in deep, let's tread that slow. Don't come with a next angle. Got more sides in the rectangle. All that past, just let that go. Turn off the lights, don't end that show. Look on dance floor, show gets live. Oh, I see pyros, I see smoke. Graveyard shift, that's set in stone. Stepping stones, I'm stepping slow. Come to the venue, bless them go. My DJs come to let them know.
This video is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
What's up, guys? Hey, what's up? Damien, John, Trinity, what's up? Thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, I just kind of decided to pop on last second because, yeah, I mean, anyone that rolls through, obviously, you know, and has questions, drop those below. But I thought it was just kind of an impulsive thing that I've been thinking about to talk about the direction of the channel in general and stuff that I've been thinking about for a while, and just kind of come out and say it, I guess, and just kind of give myself some pressure to talk about some interests and just, you know, things I've talked about kind of behind the scenes, basically. So I don't know his name actually, but I've been recommended this video about horse estrogen lately, and I watched it, and it was really good. I didn't finish the whole thing yet, but yeah, Molecular is what he goes by. And briefly, we talked a little bit, and you know, there were probably some these overlapping interests there, and I just thought it was. Yeah, I was really glad that Mike actually dropped a link to that video, and that actually got me to watch it. And his whole process is actually, it's good. It's really good. I was really impressed by it because he doesn't overstate things or anything like that, and he's also very extensive. And yeah, Molecular is great. Like, you know, thanks everyone, by the way. Yeah, he talks about a process like I do, sort of, you know, that remind me of me. And, you know, there was like just the fact that, or hang on one second, somebody ordered to my house. Hold on. Anyway, I'm going to have somebody come and answer the door for me. But, yeah, so I told you it was last second. But, yeah, he did a dutasteride, or, you know, he had a friend do a dutasteride experiment while on Boldenone with testosterone and kept things fixed. And, like, I thought that was kind of a perfect way to talk about topics like this and just, like, get anecdotal empirical data that nobody's ever going to see in any type of scientific study, you know, funded by, you know, insert regulatory body or whatever. You know, there's just not an interest in that kind of stuff anymore. So I feel like it's kind of up to us, to people like us, to kind of just map out the territory a bit. And there is so much low-hanging fruit in our space to, you know, perform citizen science, I guess, is like the term that I've heard used about that. And like, it leaves a lot of room to, for example, in my instance, like, Molecular found some things and observed this estradiol increase in a friend who used dutasteride while on testosterone and Boldenone. And, that then kind of branched off to the fact that Boldenone, and if it actually reduces the binding of estradiol at the receptor level through just sheer overwhelm of like the Boldenone, which is the horse estrogen that he talks about, and if that overwhelms by sheer volume, so that is possible, but it would have to produce a lot of it. I don't know if I missed a part in the video where he talks about that, where like a ton of this weak agonist would have to be present to like stop estradiol from becoming as active, basically. But yeah, I want to talk with him about that for sure. And I kind of thought to take the time to talk about that interest that's just kind of right off the cuff, and then the other things that I'm interested in talking about. And as you guys know, I had Mason on last week, Mason Porter, and he was one of the early adopters of the SHBG protocol and kind of, took it in his own direction that he was interested in, and he also gave me some valuable data as well. And I would like to have people like that, clients of mine who have experience with this, and then also talk to, people who I would like to really hear their insight on, and people who expressed interest to me in this actually like a long time ago. So they probably don't even know who I am, but I like to say that Vigorous Steve is the godfather of SHBG, basically. And he was the one who first pointed out to me that SHBG might actually be important. So, him putting out to do blood work in search of a higher truth, I would just do my blood work regularly and then tinker around with stuff, and then just kind of found a combination stack that, ended up inadvertently raising my SHBG. And then, it then just kind of became a matter of mapping things, like, and testing this thing 3 weeks later, change something, 3 weeks later, change something, like that over and over again. There was other experiments in there too, but, the main thing was just about mapping out, here, let's see. Yeah, I'll comment on this. And then also, hey, thank you, man. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, hey, feel free to jump on if you want. I know, like I'm just kind of freestyling it right now. I kind of wanted to talk about some of the things of direction that I'm going to be taking, so people kind of get what's going on, and take a bit more control over things. Let's see. Yeah, the next, Steve. He actually, in a comment on his own YouTube video about SHBG, it said to drop the protocol now. And then, I think just maybe through overwhelm of like his inbox, it got buried. But, this is like early on 2023, early 2023 or late 2022 even. And, at that point I had kind of just found nandrolone only with estradiol. And, in that time, I've kind of mapped different stuff. And then actually, I thought this would be a good time to talk with Molecular because, speaking of EQ, I actually just happened to run out of the DHB that I was taking, and I had EQ laying around. So using just Boldenone with estradiol. And that has been an HRT stack that I've used before that I like. I actually like Boldenone quite a bit, but it does lower my SHBG in the instances when I've used it at high doses. Actually, it seemed to more than Primo, which is kind of the opposite of what you would think. But with the testosterone base, for sure, Primo lowers SHBG more. But I think that might be due to anything that lowers aromatase activity, whoever way it does it. Yeah, that, let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Yeah, anybody, so, you know, Molecular, we're going to be talking probably. He's really great. His process is good. Steve is the godfather of SHBG. You know, I've gotten good results with it. My guys have gotten good results with it. So that would be cool to talk to. Steve would be cool to talk to. And then I talked with Mike Horner Muscle Project and Dave from Mr. and Mrs. Blue Collar Bodybuilding. And we wanted to talk about a mental health episode because I've mentioned it a few times in the channel, at least, that I have these sayings that I kind of like to repeat over and over. And I've said this so much recently, but one of them is everything is a scaled up version of a rat pressing a lever. And sometimes you have multiple levers that you press that contradict one another, because you press one to get your dopamine, but it breaks another. And life is kind of a series of structuring a series of levers that give you dopamine that don't break one another. And yeah, that I guess is like a mental health direction dopamine foundational system that you can structure to kind of use as, like, I guess, a lever to pull, which is another thing that I say. So, you know, I'm not really sure what form that will take or where it will be or anything like that, but bodybuilding, especially competitive bodybuilding, the person who wins has the best genetics. But, like, aside from that, it's about structuring a plan and having a target and applying a lot of effort into a very focused space. And the way that you do that is by not being thrown off in life and, you know, thinking about it so that your entire day is these series of non-contradicting levers that you press. There's that, and yeah, I think that was, like, really all I wanted to go over. I'm thinking about, you know, dropping the link in the chat. Screw it. Let's see. Yeah, obviously, anyone wants to come, feel free. This was just totally unprompted. I thought it would be good to kind of put out a thumbnail, plug the fact that, you know, these are things that I want to do in the future, instead of just kind of being, Erick has really been the cornerstone of getting this ball rolling, actually, because after hormones for me, I just, well, for a while I was hurt, and then, you know, a bit lost. I'm kind of just, like, trying to find a voice again, I guess. And then Erick, he was no longer with them. And then, you know, he was the person who would structure the podcasts. So the fact that he was doing that, he wanted to kind of get my channel rolling again. I had started this channel in 2025. You know, I have the hair loss video, the what else is it? The SHBG video, and just, like, when I was bad at recording videos then. But Erick's been the one who's reinvigorated this channel, and you know, I just wanted to thank him live on the air for. He said, just show up. You know, he set up StreamYard and all the things that we needed to do, and I just walked onto my laptop one night, and that's kind of what got all this started again. I'm thinking about answering or uploading all of the old HFM stuff because, you know, we would have a pretty good panel of me, Ryan, Jay for a time, Eric, you know, anyone. And then Aaron Burke would come on. We've talked on there twice, I think. Yeah, I should do that. Feel free to come on if you want to, Josh. I have the DHT one with Aaron Burke, I think, but we might have another one too. But there's a lot. I've got like 20 old HFM stuff that I don't think is on YouTube anymore. I think they scrubbed that stuff. I'm not totally sure why, but there's one with Mason and Dawson Weiss on there. So it's me, Ryan, Eric, Dawson, Mason. Like the thing's stacked. And actually 3 of us were on estradiol bases there at the time. So like I was pretty proud of that because, you know, I didn't think, let's see. Yeah, right? Yeah, I was, yeah. I'm disappointed too, just because I was proud of some of the stuff I got to talk there because I had been like a loner just off in my own world, doing experiments, mapping, being the operator, and carving out space of just questions that I found interesting, doing my labs, measuring, collecting data, crunching it. And it just arose naturally that I made my YouTube channel. And then within a week, I left a comment, I think, or the first day I made it on HFM's SHBG video that Ryan and Jay made. And I was like, hey, I kind of been doing this for a while. I've got some things I think that might be interesting to talk about. And then the rest was history. I started being a guest on there regularly. Then I started working there. And then I think the podcast stopped. And then I was no longer working there. And then things were erased. And then there was like a rebranding that kind of went on there. So it looks like. But that was after me being there. Yeah, there is so much good stuff that got talked about there. I can't even remember. There was, yeah, there was some good women's HRT stuff that we went into. There was high dose orals and like liver enzymes and things like that we went into there. Ryan was really interested in that topic. I never really caught up to him, and we never got to do that video to talk about like Winstrol and other things about liver health, ALT, AST, GGT, lipids. You know, Ryan's point was kind of that the changing of cholesterol is not like a necessarily bad thing. It's just a function of higher turnover. I never got to investigate that fully enough as much as I wanted, but let's see. Yeah, you can't run Trent, but MENT is euphoric. Interesting. What dose have you run it at is what I'm curious, because at like anything under like 150 or something like that, right, okay, that's what I expected. Oh shit, that's intense. OD'd. I've like, I mean, if you include this in OD, I can take a 50 milligram Anadrol on a high day, and if I go to bed, I'm puking like the first dose. So I do not like it for that reason. But that's exactly what I was thinking. MENT is good at low doses, but once you kind of start to crank it up, it doesn't seem to like get that much stronger in a weird way. It's weird. It does like all it's going to do at lower amounts, maybe. I have run, like I said, I run MENT, but I've never let it just aromatize the way that it should. Like I've run it with high doses of Primo and EQ. So it was like MENT, Primo, and EQ. And also I added Aromacin on top. So none of that extra good 7-alpha methyl estradiol that's metabolism resistant was able to circulate my system. Or is it 17? I can't remember. But yeah, I have some MENT to try, I guess. I wonder how low of a dose I could use for like a HRT of MENT. Because right now I am on, starting a front load protocol of like 200 milligrams of EQ twice a week. I'll probably just do this for the first week. And that's right. That is how I remember it now too. That's why I doubted myself. Thank you. Yeah. I don't really know about the whole front load thing. That's another topic to investigate. But like, I don't know, drop it in the comments. Do you guys front load? Does anybody have any opinion on what front loading with long esters does, if it even matters? Molecular had a good point on this, by the way, that like EQ is so problematic at, Boldenone at aromatase inhibition because of the fact that it has a metabolite that is the AI. So it can build up over time, and some people don't make much of it at all. So that would explain a lot there. Although I will say, I'm going to talk to Molecular about this, but EQ is estrogenic for me. Boldenone has produced estrogenic symptoms that were pretty distinct. And so like, that doesn't really contradict his main claim there. I just think that like it's just, I don't know. It could maybe like those Boldenone or whatever the other estrogens that Boldenone makes. yeah. I'm glad somebody got this. Guys, SHBG. I really like SHBG. I shouldn't do that, but anyway. Yeah. What was I saying? Somebody dropped in the comments what I was talking about. Yeah, that was funny. So I'm glad John got it. But oh yeah, Molecular and his AI hypothesis. Oh, and front loading. And yeah, front loading and as it relates to that. I don't really front load stuff anymore because, like, I don't know. I've switched from DHB SIB. Oh, okay. That's, yeah. EQ produces Boldenone, which is the estrogen that it produces, or one of them, I guess. And that's like the horse estrogen that he put in his title, which was awesome. And the overwhelm could be not at the receptor. It could be not at the estradiol receptor itself, but maybe it's overwhelming liver metabolism of estradiol. So like, because I don't know, there's a ton of this Boldenone, it's making E2 pile up, and then that's what's causing the estrogenic symptoms. Yeah. Trenase maybe does actually. I have felt that kick in a bit faster. But at the same time, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've taken Trenhex, and within a single dose of taking maybe like just under double of what I should have taken for that singular dose of like every other day or daily dosing, I feel it within the first 2 days, like or the next day. Within 12 hours, maybe I would say, is kind of when I could start to detect it. But, oh yeah, this brings me to long esters. I have switched so many times from test phenylpropionate to testacanoate, which should be like the worst direction to go in, or DHB cypionate to testacanoate, or boldcypionate to boldenone undesolinate. And those should be the direction you don't want to go in, and when you should expect androgens to drop significantly. But, you would need to front load the most in theory in that situation, because like you got a short ester, you stop, switch it for a long ester. Short ester drops, it takes a long time for the long ester to build up in theory. But I don't really ever notice that, to be honest. Yeah, I would like to try more YK11 experiments. Not in the gym though, so it kind of just feels like a waste. But the direction to go in that is like, I wish more people like had finer control over the stuff they were taking, because like so much of it is concentration dependent sometimes, or it can be, like with DHB being toxic, or the rare instances of Primo Ace injectable being toxic. Like I've mapped those out pretty good, but as it stands, like if I'm just the only one making those claims, like they don't really go contested and they don't really circulate either. I'm not sure how. Yeah, that's why it would be nice. That's why I put the clickbaity thumbnail in there with the cartoon version of us. But yeah, it would be cool to, I guess while I'm there, it would be cool to talk with Kurt Havens again too, just because I have talked with him before, and I don't really know what his opinion would be on it. He's a knowledgeable guy, and I think at the time after that he may not have agreed. I'm not exactly sure what with, but I'd be curious to hear more just from really anybody in this space. That's ultimately what I would like. Anyone who's interested to engage with the stuff, like I would like to share my experiences of my clients, blood work, whatever. And him, and let's see. Oh, there's also Dr. Dean St. Mart. I'd be interested in talking with him, because I have heard through a friend of mine who was a client of his, actually, I think, and he ended up doing a very similar protocol with, I believe it was Primo and E2 injectable. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's Austin approved. And let's see. Oh, yeah, I mean, let me know. Like, just, I would say 3-week intervals, and then if you're switching from test, I personally check my my SHBG levels. Like, I would worry about that like later, like after 3 or 4 weeks, if you have like a baseline to go off of. It kind of depends, but the main thing is just getting that E2 dialed is kind of what people live and die by this protocol. So like if you get an E2 that's too high, that's like the spiral everybody gets screwed with. Then yeah. Oh, so to finish what I was saying to John though first, estradiol being too low is the way to go in my experience, because it's easier to add more than to overshoot by a lot, because the change in the hormone levels themselves has an effect. So yeah, low and slow is the ticket. And boron with SHBG, I don't even actually know how boron affects SHBG, to be honest. I don't even know by what mechanism it does impact it. And yeah, I think it's a good something to just get through your diet or supplementation. Some people would do a multivitamin. I take pure encapsulations, trace minerals. I think that has boron in it, and it's got other stuff in there too. That stuff has like chromium and stuff in it too, so I think it like increases your insulin sensitivity. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I'm not really sure how chromium impacts that. This reminds me too of another thing. Let's see. Boron, more like borophyll, right? Yeah, great. And it's, yeah, like I take the trace minerals. I don't know how chromium increases insulin sensitivity. with molecular, though, I was talking, one of the comments I had dropped, curious to get his opinion on, because I didn't watch it, but he has talk of HGH and its effect on insulin sensitivity. And I don't know if this would be good anecdotal empirical data for him or, you know, anyone interested in it, but I had ridiculous, absurd high blood glucose readings in the peaks of my MAS phases on or off GH. Like, I would hit 245 milligrams per deciliter fasted in the morning, and I would have to take 40 units of rapid insulin before I started eating my morning meal one. And then the rest of the day, though, like, I would only end up using 1 IU per 20 grams of carbs. And when doing like an intravenous rapid or regular insulin test, within 15 to 20% of that same dose of insulin in units would produce the same drop in blood glucose. So it was like not purely receptor level desensitization. I think it's a lot of hepatic glucose output that just you're hypersaturated, and then you also are possibly having beta cell fatigue, but this resolves within 3 to 4 weeks after it, when entering a caloric deficit always. But that, and then the extremely long after meal elevated postprandial glucose was the other thing. Like 4 hours after a meal, I'd still be at 180, 170 milligrams per deciliter without, if I weren't using rapid insulin, and at that time. So I don't know if that kind of provides any, you know, template to add to his opinion on that, but he did have a unique view on it. I think the the insulin sensitivity GH thing, but yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments. What would you like to see me cover, or who would you like to see me talk to, if you have any suggestions, or who would want to talk to me, for that matter? I will talk with anybody. You know, this doesn't even have to be right now, but any ideas that there are. I'm just going to keep checking my notes here to see if like there's anything I missed. This thumbnail is ridiculous. Anyone who could like cover the topics, let's see. Like I kind of like, I have topics I want to cover, like, but they always work so much better when you have, you know, the person to bounce them off. Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Yeah.
Figured I'd hop in. I just got out of the shower from the gym.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah.
So you were all by your lonesome. I couldn't let that happen.
Yeah, it's I'm just trying to get used to it is all. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But I wanted to I guess light a fire under my own ass to talk about topics that I'm interested in, to talk about direction of some form, you know, just like for the long arc, you know, to take a bit more control.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
What do you think? What do you think? I mean, Mike said I should talk to Molecular, so.
Yeah, I had him on my show last night, actually. Yeah, what's today? I'm brain dead. Yeah. Thursday, so yeah, yesterday. Yeah, he's a great dude, very knowledgeable, and I think he's got some interesting takes. I think a lot of times, you know, when we talk compounds, can you hear me all right? Am I pretty clear?
Loud and clear, yeah.
I think 9 out of 10 times, you know, I take every bit of people's opinions on things like my favorite compound's this, I'd be wary about that. I take sometimes their opinions with a grain of salt in a good way. And it's just because everything's so case dependent. I know it's like the most boring thing to say to people.
Yeah,
when people ask advice on what do you think about this, what do you think about that, I always got to preface it with, we're all different. We talk about EQ, and for me, I'm one of those guys that my blood work comes back great. My hematocrit's never been over 45 in general, and even on EQ, it hangs around there.
Me too. Same.
Yeah, and then there's some people. In different cases with different compounds that it's a no-go, no matter at whatever concentration. So I think he's got some really good perspectives on paper, and I think he's got a decent anecdotal background where he can kind of back up what he's talking about for sure. And he's thorough enough where he's worth listening to at the end of the day. He's not just going by one study, one opinion, one thing that was taught from coach to coach. So no, I think the more we can, it's like you and I, right? Like the more we talk about challenging each other with our opinions and stuff, it only builds a greater knowledge base at the end of the day. So,
Especially like the model was like what I was impressed with, because I like to do that. Like I'm not like a competitor, right? So I don't have like a long-term arc to really hang my hat on to like sacrifice. Like I'll be willing to kind of mess shit up, I guess, so to speak, and run with a high HSCRP for a little bit, and then it gives you something to test, I guess. And I like that Molecular did that with like the dutasteride thing, because I think, like you said, everybody has a different experience with something, but I think that over time of doing stuff like this, we could eventually knock out a little bit of our area of the map. Like, for example, on some stuff we align on, I think, like you have seen utility in IGF-1 LR3 before. I've like heard it mentioned that there is no utility in it, and I have gotten from that. So that's 2 data points instead of just our individual N of 1s kept separate,
Like, I think sometimes too, it's also what do you expect out of things too? Like somebody says, if we're going to talk about the IGF-1 for an example, if you're expecting the world out of it and that's going to be the most anabolic thing on the planet because that's what you heard, you're going to be very much disappointed. But to say it has no use, no case use, no application whatsoever would be wrong as well. So you kind of look at it on a spectrum of what's useful information and what's actually to be expected of these things, right? I think it's really, again, situation dependent, case dependent, what makes sense, what doesn't. But if we go back to the EQ topic, right, there's you have to remember a lot of this is so dose dependent too, right? Because what my study might be astronomical doses compared to the person running a study and their reaction at a very lower threshold, right? There's a difference between testosterone and EQ being implemented at a 500 milligram total between the two versus a 2 gram total between the two. 1,500 tests and 500 EQ is a different story than 500 tests and 300 EQ, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So
definitely,
but the more we can challenge each other and kind of gain knowledge and be honest and be wrong, is good at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We had a fun topic last night that I thought we hit on, and we were kind of, Jackie and I were talking mainly a little bit about women PED usage and how, I don't know what you think, but there's a lot of people that just always immediately go to a person's jumping in prep, first timer or not, and they just jump right on the anabolic primobolan train with women when there's so many levers before you get to the androgens that you can pull that can be effective. And I find, my show, I'm not trying to expose bad coaching or shit on coaching in general. But there's a lot of terrible coaching, and that's one example of poor coaching. Is you get a first timer that says, "Hey," they talk to you about PEDs, and you don't talk about all the other levers that can get pulled before the endocrine system's even brought into the equation.
Especially the endocrine system from like the androgen perspective too. Like you got the IGF-1, you got insulin too, you got sleep. You got how long after you work out are you getting food in, all ton of stuff.
You got stimulant and then high stimulant fat burner use. You got GLPs, you got even recovery tactics, right? Because in a show prep scenario for a bodybuilder, one of the biggest things that we can control is gym intensity and recovery capability.
I was just going to say, yeah. Yeah.
So you get all these recovery peptides, sleep peptides, and even sleep supplemental things.
Right.
You know, I don't mean to take over the convo, but I just give you one quick example.
Perfect.
One quick example of this, though, Austin, is like, I had a girl one time that her first prep with somebody was Primobolan, Clenbuterol, and Anavar. And she was barely 21, I think. But by the time we worked with her at like 23 years old, we used no androgens. And we ended up actually doing like some really good supplemental sleep protocols and stress protocols, you know, like cortisol control.
Yeah.
And just glucose management in this girl. And I think the only thing we used that's kind of like you call PED really was growth hormone itself. So no androgens. And she had a professional physique by the time we stepped on a regional show stage. And
that's
so
awesome.
it just goes to show there's a lot of levers. And I think there's I think that's not talked about enough because we're just it's sexy to talk the PEDs and the androgens, right?
Right.
You know, talking sleep quality is not very fun, is it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I get jazzed on that shit because like my favorite thing is shining a grow light in my eyes first thing in the morning. But like that was really effective because I stay asleep. I actually get tired at night when I do that, like versus when I'm not doing that. Like looking at the bright light in the morning actually makes it so I start to yawn like at night. It's not like I'll just be scrolling away or reading away and being like, oh, it's 3, oh, it's 4. And then I wake up better too that way. But like you can underestimate very easily how much it doesn't matter what PEDs you take. You know, I'm biased and, you know, I would like to have it out to a larger audience because of that. But the cases I've got, you know, maybe just in this instance, especially in libido, I guess, like having maybe it's either the consistent E2 or the SHBG. Like these people have the honeymoon period back in the instances when they get dialed, or like in the case of, this is kind of, did you guys go into the aromatase thing with molecular at all?
Not much. No, not much. We let that kind of breathe for a bit.
Yeah, because with letrozole, like I had a guy who buried his E2 for a contest prep, and this is like kind of does circle back to why, you know, working with a coach is good, but and how many levers you can pull, but like this, the belief that that's what you have to do going into a show. He ended up paying for it for a year and a half, and you know, he's not the majority for sure, but you know, I brought him back from the dead with the injectable E2, even though his E2 came back into range on the test. It wasn't that like his E2 was in range, but was normal actually, but he just had
Did he have any experience with aromasin before the letrozole?
I am not sure actually. I can ask him though right away.
Right.
I can ask him. Yeah, let me see.
Because obviously there's a good amount of people too that aren't realizing that if your everyday AI is aromasin, I'm starting to see a lot of people that have been kind of relying on it as their go-to AI for years, maybe because of availability, and they have a hard time recovering or having actual control over their E2 levels in general. And I think it's just by the mechanism of how that aromatase inhibitor works compared to like Arimidex. You know, there's a big difference. And so, I'm just curious if he kind of went from aromasin to letro, because you know, it's gone from like a hand grenade to a nuke as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like letro isn't one of the ones that should be, it's not a suicide inhibitor, but it's just potent, kind of like Arimidex, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. So letro is not a suicide inhibitor. I think aromasin is.
Yeah, aromasin is.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue is that it's not kind of acting like a binding agent in allowing the blocked estrogen to circle back around. It's really just kind of holding on to it till it's excreted out of the body. From what I understand, Paul kind of taught me that a little bit more, and I've been kind of keeping my people on Arimidex if possible, or no AI if possible. You know, sometimes it can work that way as well.
What I recommend Aromatase a lot when people have issues and they insist that like they don't stick to anything. They're like, if they're paranoid people, they're like, oh, I think I got nipple sensitivity, or oh, I think I have ED, or like they're in their head about it a lot, and they kind of take an AI whenever they need it or whenever they feel like it. Like it's not part of their, like, on my injection days, I take this much of it. You know, the Aromatase seems like suited better to like every couple weeks or whatever. Like if you're going to be using it, like that's when I've seen it work. For people,
and that would make sense, right? Because the more consistent use out of it, you're dose dependent on somebody taking Aromatase can hold a steadier E2 level than Arimidex, because Arimidex is eventually going to cleave off of the
and you get rebound,
and get recirculated around. So Arimidex would not be the thing or Aromatase would not be the thing you want to put in and out. I agree with you for sure. I'm so old school and boring sometimes as a coach, I'll be honest, and I know it's not a sexy thing to say about my coaching services, but I always circle back around to the basics, right? Like what's our injection frequency, what is our dose, and how quickly did we get to this testosterone dose? You know, I'm a slow and steady person, and you know, there's a lot to be said with controlling some of the E2 just through injection schedule. You know, I'm sure you've seen it a million times on HRT in general too. The guys that are taking, you know, 175 tests weekly and inject once a week are getting a totally different estrogen response compared to daily injections. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and then the people, when you test them actually like at once a week, like they'll be even higher of an E2, and even though you would think it would be lower because they're like at a trough usually when they test it, like it seems like E2 lags behind almost, like it's on a delay. I don't know if you've noticed that, but
well, that could also be inconsistent use, right, of an AI. It's you're just going peaks and valleys really the whole time.
Right.
Blue collar fundamentals, I mean, you know what's funny though, they're predictable and cheap, Josh. You know, some of those basic things I'm boring to talk about all the time. It's cheap fat burners to be consistent with cardio. It's cheap. It's a cheap AI and easy route to be consistent with your dosing schedule. You know what I mean?
And that kind of, we could circle that back too. We talked about a little bit about this, but or at least I was certainly interested in the idea of you know, we could make this a whole section too, potentially on its own, but having like a series of fundamental levers that you pull, like you mentioned, like the non-sexy stuff, because then it comes down into your mental health and your mindset, you know?
And part of mental health is building consistent routines, right? Like I'm sure that's helped. I know that's helped myself, is having consistent routines and habits that are for the good. And so you're piling all this good pile, and it's outweighing the poor pile of poor habits that you have. And it's going to work the same way pharmacology. Like if, you know, you don't just want to use things as needed all the time. If you can find these Goldilocks zones, that you find your right concoction that works for you, that makes a lot more logical sense in my mind.
Right. I've said it on here before. I said it earlier, but this saying I have that keeps circulating around, it's that everything is a scaled up version of a rat pressing a lever. And when you have certain levers that you press to get your dopamine that contradict one another, like maybe you're a lifter and you're a bodybuilder, but you also party on the weekends a lot. One lever you press for dopamine, you press the other one, but the two levers break one another. So you can't, and life's kind of about getting a series of levers that you can press reliably to have something that keeps you having movement. And then when you, it was like, what was the guy's name who you were going to interview in the wheelchair?
Malik. That should be coming out next week. Malik.
And it's like what I dropped in the chat too. Like what you see is like when people have broken or had a series of those broken levers that they press to get the dopamine, like there's something that meaning, I guess, organizes people around to kind of pick themselves up to start again, which I'm sure you obviously know about. You know, when you have to like start and build a new set of momentum and a new set of dopamine, like it's really hard, and not everybody does it, which I mean, you've had to do it before, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, with my addiction, you know, my struggles with addiction over the years, that's exactly right. Like, it took time to become a alcoholic, like, if that makes sense. Like, it took time. It wasn't like a snap of the fingers. So that's a building of a poor habit in habitual like activities. So if you're going to reverse that and you're going to replace that, you know, it's going to take some time to build up that same dopamine hit from exercise or something. You know, it's not like you fall in love with it on day one. How many people have, I can tell you, there's a million people I've coached that dreaded training, and then took them a month or two until they start really appreciating and falling in love with it. You know what I mean? So, and now it becomes a healthy lever that they're pulling all the time. They rely on to keep their mind straight, you know? So and it takes time.
That's where meaning kind of carries you through. Like, cause I definitely had to do it first. I'll tell this story, I guess, officially. I don't know if I've told it to you before, but I used to be a professional athlete. Like, I was at the, you know, pro level of hair scramble racing, enduro racing on dirt bikes. I rode from the time I was like 4, and then I turned pro at 16, and then at 19 I had a crash where I almost died. Do you know about this?
You told me a little. I don't think I remember why.
So while practicing, like at my practice track, I hit a tree, and, you know, like 4th gear pin, so I was probably like 45 miles an hour or something like that. And then the pressure from hitting the tree gave me barotrauma to my lungs, so I had these dual lacerated lungs. And then I had to be in a medically induced coma for like 9 days or something like that. I can't remember, but in the ICU, got out. And then after that, I lost the entire path of dopamine that I had built up my entire life around. Like, everything that I derived meaning from was from that, which I no longer wanted to do anymore. You know, I had my girlfriend Shauna at the time. Like, I didn't want to jeopardize that. Like, the brush with death was too real. I just decided not to go down that path anymore. So I had to start building it all over again. And then you just got major surgery and you're on opioids, you're on oxycodone too. So, like, not only are you physically messed up, you've had your entire lat sawed through, your ribs spread open, and, you know, you hit a tree with your back. So it was really easy to just like be in physical pain. And then I started working a ton. Like, that's when I was working like 100 hours a week as a grower, and just like a robot basically. And you know, I'm off of them now, luckily. I used Suboxone in 2015. I'm off of that finally, just as of recently. But yeah, thanks. Luckily it wasn't so bad for me. I went low and slow, but like most people kind of just bounced. A lot of people bounce back and forth between that and other stuff. But like,
a lot of people don't come off. You know, it becomes their next crutch, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's that one specifically, like, dopamine and drive, I think, is a little bit like reduced when you're having the effect of it. Right. You know, other than that, it kind of, I didn't actually notice it that much, but like, you know.
Well, I'd imagine your drive for the dopamine hit goes down because you're getting it from something that's easily accessible. So like, for me, it would be the alcohol, right? Like, I didn't care to go fishing because that required getting off my ass and having to go get my gear, go fish, you know, make some of it's a little bit of work entailing, where I could just crack open a couple cocktails and I'm getting the same dopamine hit, and I'm going, and now I'm developing a poor trade-off, you know? So it's so weird how these negative things in your life can provide such better perspective down the road. Like, I wouldn't change anything of what happened to me. Like I spent about 10 years being a hardcore alcoholic, and that's 10 years I kind of stole from myself, in 10 years of what could have been a better marriage and relationship with my wife. And but in a weird way, that price that was paid, I have such a better outlook on life and promising future in my mind, of what's more appreciative of things. And I'm sure you probably can relate. I'm sure you're more appreciative of small things now that you might have taken for granted before, just because you know how easily they can get taken away. Like it was easy to become, it was probably easy to become addicted to anything. It's sometimes it's like you blink and it happens. It's no one's goal to become an addict of any sort,
No. And like, you don't realize how it happens, because it's just, becomes your dopamine over time. It's like you said, you don't become one overnight,
Yeah.
But it did teach, the thing it taught me was valuing people. Like, because like when you're like age 16 through 19 as a young man, like the greatest glory of all would be dying on your motorcycle. Like That's what it would be, and then when you go through something like that, and then you're in the hospital, people are around you, and like, you don't really know what's going to happen. It's just it makes it too real. You see the effect it has on other people around you. And it's just like, I ended up becoming more interested in other things first. So,
Right.
Yeah. I think this is a good point, like, for us to expand on at some point. We can potentially talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
Get interesting, like I mean, people want to hear about a dirt bike crash and an alcoholic for sure. So
well, this young kid Malik I was talking to, who's now a wheelchair bodybuilding competitor, he only became paralyzed a year ago, and he only got sober. He had a very similar past as myself. He dropped 100 pounds on 3 occasions, and I did the exact same thing, 100 pounds on 3 occasions from my addiction back and forth. I'd get clean for a year and then start drinking for a year, and then clean for a year and get myself ready to bodybuild because I had to drop 100 pounds. So then I'd be like, all right, I can have a beer or two. I've earned it. And then you go down the same path. And he'd be someone who's got a great perspective too. I know he doesn't have the background on the pharmacology we like to get into, but if you ever want to do a talk on, I think that's something that a lot of people's ego gets in the way, and we always kind of skip over how much mental fatigue we put on ourselves in this sport, and how hard we can be on ourselves, and how much we actually beat the shit out of our brains, like emotionally, and we don't actually do anything about it. We just kind of make it till tomorrow and hope that it'll be a different day, but that scarring builds up, and then you find, I don't want to get deep with it, but then you find people that are, hurting themselves, or, ending their life prematurely. Like, there's some serious things that happen we kind of all forget to take seriously and talk about in this sport. And I don't think it's always the introduction of or the intervention of hormones and stuff. I think it's really just the group of people that get into bodybuilding are usually trying to chase something else out of their life. They're trying to swap something in their life and fulfill it with bodybuilding, you know what I mean, or self-improvement. And they never really kind of address the mental health issue that they already have. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you want to get into that, that's a great topic. And I think I know Coach Paul would love to talk about that. Him and I talked about doing an episode on the same thing. Just getting our schedules matched up is always tough.
Yeah, I absolutely would, because I mean, I've watched Paul's content, and like, he's somebody who's reinvented himself too. So I'm sure
he's helped me. I mean, Paul's one of my best friends for sure. Like, I'm very fortunate. He started off as my coach, and we just got really close as friends, and now we do work together and we travel and hang. And but he's someone that I've looked up to, like a big brother. That's kind of like myself and you and I. Like, if we need to rely on each other, I'm there for you, and vice versa. So, but you don't utilize it. There's this ego thing that. It's kind of why I didn't get sober the first 2 times, was because I was like, I can do this on my own. I don't need anyone's help. I'm just going to lick this wound myself. And the reality was, until I actually, the third go around, made a promise and discussion with my wife, I talked to all my employees. I had 15 employees at the time. I had to tell them why I'm not going to be around for a week while I detox in the hospital, you know, and I wanted to make sure they understood like where I'm coming through so they could relate, you know, and understand like, you know, I'm just trying to be a better boss at the end of the day. I'm trying to be a better person so I could be a better boss. And until I really like allowed my guard to come down, nothing really got accomplished until I allowed myself to be a little bit in a frail state or vulnerable, I guess you'd say. Every word that a guy doesn't want to say about themselves: frail, vulnerable, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And brings me to my other thing about it's a random movie, but about how people die in the woods, and they die from shame and you know, thinking that you failed, or that you're weak, or that you've done something shameful or embarrassing.
Yeah.
That prevents people from addressing it, because admitting that is like the hardest part, you know, that there's a problem. And then people make all sorts of excuses to like think, this is why it's not a problem for me, even though it would be for most people. It's not for me though, you know, and then they do a bunch of damage by trying to rationalize it too. So, you know, it's just a shit show that, you know, old as time.
Well, it kind of reminds me, I think that famous, see, Tina knows what Tina's been around this long enough. She understands this sport's sometimes it can be actually a great answer to help you get through your inner demons, you know, because it makes you feel in control of yourself sometimes, for sure. But it's funny you say that analogy, because there's that famous woods or forest in Japan where everybody goes and I don't know if you can say the word on here, but you know what I'm saying. They unalive themselves.
Yeah, unalive forest.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then, I don't know, like symbolism is kind of like a thing I dabble with, but like the woods is like the ultimate chaos, really. It's like the origin point of like, you know, everything, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's where we walk out of. But,
did you want to hit that question from Androgen Receptor he had on, I think it was DHT or Proviron?
Oh, yeah, I did. Thanks. Good call there. Let's see.
What did he say?
You read it. You take it, actually, because you might have more experience.
Yeah, Androgen Receptor asks, have you seen it make significant difference in reality or practice that using Proviron makes other anabolics to work more effectively or better / stronger? And yeah, I mean, it does. That's not a facade.
Yeah,
but it's interesting the way it works, because it probably go against what you're all for, is, you know, preserving your SHBG, because so what happens is when you take Proviron, it's basically a straight DHT, you know, compound, and it's really not anabolic on its own, but when it lowers your SHBG, it's allowing more of these compounds to be bioavailable by being like a free floating hormone, if I'm saying it kind of correctly. Yep. So there's some good to that, but I don't think that's something you want to run consistently. If you want more out of your anabolics, take more of your anabolics. But if there's a time like show prep, give you an example, right? Say we're 8 weeks out and we're noticing that somebody's got a little bit of a soft look. So we kind of plan on 5, 4, 3 weeks out range. We start inserting a little bit of Proviron. That's going to help give a little bit more of a drier look, because it doesn't aromatize. Proviron doesn't convert to estrogen. So it's kind of helping a little bit of that drier, hardness, dense look. And most of the time I've actually seen it work effectively, not just for kind of giving a boost to the androgens that you're taking already in the drier look, but some people really get run down, and it bothers them that their libido gets a little messed up towards the end of prep. And it's usually not always hormonal or estrogen related. It can be, you know, straight up diet fatigue, or, you know, your CNS is overloaded. But putting in that Proviron, I've noticed almost every guy gets a kind of a boost in their libido, you know, better kind of erection quality, and you know, they tend to look a little better, feel a little better but temporarily. I don't know what you think, but I just don't think it should be something part of your year-round.
I actually fully agree with you, because I've sort of updated my model within the last like maybe 4 months, 3 months. So I've been actually using Proviron myself, but like I take it, I found, like I've been experimenting with it the last year, but I found for me on my SHBG stack, like for example with DHB and an estradiol base, when I press it like like the nitrous button basically, I get the most extreme effects. Like if I take it like maybe a couple doses a week, like if I were to take it every day, after some time it stops being as effective. And that kind of like led me to this speculation that maybe when SHBG levels are dropping, that's when you ride this wave like of potency, because like Proviron's coming in, it's an androgen like DHT, and it cleans up SHBG. You're getting this increase in androgen activity. And then I think there is something to say maybe in the increasing levels of androgen activity itself. Like, so as androgen activity is going up, I think that in and of itself may have its own effect. So like if you were to take it every day, I think it stops being as effective. And I have heard people report that. And you kind of have to come off of it for a little bit to get the same effect again. But I agree with you, actually, because I've observed that too. Yeah. So my updated view is that.
I think it's worth mentioning too, one small scenario where I don't know how I would think about this application, but let's say we got blood work at like on a show prep scenario still. And we got blood work and your SHBG is already in the tank. It's already crushed. If you're I don't think that would be the right time to even put Proviron in, because all you're gonna luckily get out of that is maybe a little bit more of a drier look, but we can facilitate that with water manipulation at the end. You don't need to be dry looking 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out. You want to be dry the second you hit the stage, and then I want you rehydrated by the next day, hopefully, and not from a cheap meal and sodium from the pizza and a bunch of beers, but and I think that's when smart application would be to say your SHBG is already crushed. We're not going to get like an amplifying effect of your androgens ever so much. We'd be lucky to get a cosmetic effect. And if that's the case, I wouldn't even use it, So I don't know what androgen receptor is asking in like what kind of practice, like year round. But I think there's a use for it. It's just got to be case specific, timing and application specific, rather than part of your protocol year round. For sure.
I think I heard Steve mention this on like one of those early podcasts that he was doing with the group, that the three that he was doing it with, that like their kind of consensus was that like you get like a temporary 2-week boost from it. And I observed some of that effect. I'm still kind of mapping it out, but I'm taking it. Let's put it that way. Like, because I definitely do get the boost that you see, especially in the short term.
What would you think about like in TRT practice? Like, is there an application with somebody just trying to stay, high end of their testosterone, maybe within the reference range, maybe a little above? Is there? Yeah, you think there's any use of it? Like,
I think that's actually where it shines, to be honest. If like, as my understanding of it, and like, as it stands now, like it seems like if you have some SHBG to like lower and actively push it down, like that's like when you can leverage it. Actually, it's like maybe I think like
I could see that, or maybe like guy on TRT wants to clean up a little bit for vacation coming around in a week or two. That might be a quick little application for it.
I haven't gotten to observe the cosmetic effects personally, really, but people notoriously take it for that, like, and they say
you'll notice
it works,
that when you're really in shape and you're really getting to the end of the show prep, that's when it's kind of like one of those things. That's where you're going to see it shine. Kind of like that's when you see Masteron truly shine.
That's when
you see Superdraw really do its magic and stuff like that.
For sure. I honestly think Masteron is like Mast Probe for me has like been by far like the most grainy, freaky, enhancing look that I've seen from anything. But I haven't taken Proviron though. Like, you know, in terms of like those pre-contest things, like I don't think Halo did much for me, really, to be honest.
I'm not a fan of Halo. I'm already crazy enough.
I don't get much effect from it either, too. Like, it's weird. I don't know.
You know, I saw one, I won't say names. I saw a coach have one of his figure girls. This is a guy I don't really know well. All I can say was I was traveling in Texas and hopped in to see a regional show while I was down there. But he had one of his girls, one of his figure girls he ran Proviron with, because he didn't want to use an AI to get her looking a little drier, when neither of those are something I would have gone with anyhow with a girl. Like, you have to get them in shape first and foremost, or none of this matters. You're not getting a dry look when you're got fat underneath the skin, you know. But it's that's something you don't want to do with a girl, because you're just giving her straight DHT, high androgen load. Might as well give her Halo at that point, you know, so you at least get a little bump in the tree.
Right.
The nice thing, at least, about Proviron, and I could correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not it's not like as liver toxic as other anabolics would be. Like, I think even Anavar would be a little rougher.
I think it's non-17 alpha alkylated, honestly. I'm pretty sure it isn't. So it isn't. I think it's just absorbed, kind of like Primo Ace is. Like,
I actually have my notes in one of these tabs. Let's see. Prep drugs.
Yeah, it doesn't have 17 alpha alkylation. So.
Right. Where we got like Anavar, Winnie, Anadrol, D-Ball, those are all going to give some liver strain.
Winnie, for some reason,
also
doesn't
lipid.
fuck with me.
What's that?
Winnie doesn't fuck with me for some reason. Like, I've even like felt, like, I don't know, I get queasy from like Superdrol or Anadrol and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I've even gotten it from Anavar too, but Winstrol I haven't for some reason.
What doses have you run it?
You're gonna.
You've gone over. I
like,
mean, have you got like 150 milligrams or something? You know, daily kind of.
Yeah, I don't even want to say, but 400 a day I've taken. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed when you get most people over like 150, like if you want to, man, it's really a balance, because there's some really good looks I put on stage with megadosing some Winstrol at the end. You know, especially when I get somebody that I can pull out the oils with, and that does a good job of drying them out. And then we go ahead and put in the Winstrol, in that hardening effect, and that really kind of grit comes out. That works great. And if you can do it 150, 200 milligrams for like the last 7 days and 7 to 10 days and get it to shine, that works good. But the problem is that's just such a high amount of orals. It's rough on a lot of people's stomach. Really.
Yeah. Oh, so you have noticed that? Yeah. For some reason, I didn't notice it with Winnie, but like Superdrol, forget about it. After 10 days, I'm like, no, thanks. So
I've seen Superdrol do great in 4 or 5 days, though.
Oh yeah, you see it affect you in like 2 days or one even, like sometimes, you know. Yeah.
I think Zionic asked on the topic, how long does it take for you personally to notice the cosmetic effect from Mastron? I mean,
within a week maybe.
Yeah, but the stipulation is going to be like Zionic. If we're using it in off season, you're not going to notice squat, you know, because you're going to be a little bit softer. But if you're truly in shape, and you're really kind of not completely depleted, you know, and you'll notice it pretty quick, and it's pretty substantial. It's really just a cosmetic look, you know, that you get from it. I don't get any boost in training, you know, from Primo definitely gives me a little bit more of a bump over time with you know, training quality.
Masteron just makes me like more vascular and like drier looking. You know, just like automatically in a little bit of a better shape, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
There's so many. See, that's why it's funny. What works for some. See, you're like Mr. Bulletproof.
Yeah.
Right? It's funny. There's so many things that are Mr. Bulletproof with you, but I'm sure there's something that's your kryptonite. Like, I'm sure you've come across something that.
Anadrol.
Androl's a no-go for you?
Yeah. If within like the first dose, just like 50 milligrams, like, it gives me like acid reflux like vomiting in my sleep. Actually, like
have you tried injectable?
No, I haven't.
That's fire. No. That's some good stuff.
Yeah,
and if you get it done well, it's smooth. Like it can be a smooth injection. You know, I've heard a lot of people say they don't really care for. I understand that their solvents might be a little higher concentration in some of those injectable orals, but
yeah, especially if they make them like 50 milligram per ml or something. But you can do it at like 20 easily, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's my favorite. If I had to pick one oral I can ride and die with, it's Anadrol.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's like my one kryptonite. It's like the one thing that reliably will make me feel like crap sometimes.
It's so funny. One time my wife mixed up, we had, and she doesn't care that I'll tell this, but she one time went to use an injectable pre-workout, like pump formula, like the Monster Pump stuff. And I had gotten it gray market and whatnot, so it didn't have a label on it. But I knew on the shelf all my pre-workout pumps were right there because I would buy them in a kit. So I knew I just kept them there. Well, she thought she was grabbing the pump, and she grabbed injectable Anadrol.
Oh man!
And she slammed a whole 50 milligram shot that day.
Oh
and
wow!
And she's like, I don't know what it is, but this pump formula is like really good today. I'm fucking strong. And she's like, look at me, and she's like fucking puffed out. I'm like, and I happen to notice, I'm like, you smell like you just
like
took
glycol.
Yeah, like I could smell it. And I was like, I thought when I left the bathroom before we headed to the gym, I'm like, I thought I smelt the injectable Anadrol, because you can smell it. Like you can smell it.
Oh, really? I've never even smelled it, actually. What does it smell like?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It smells like the carrier oil. It smells. It's probably the glycol that the what's the other one?
Benzyl benzoate.
No. What's the? There's glycol, and then what's
Nigliol. Ethyl oleate.
Ethyl oleate. Yeah, you can smell those. I don't know if you've ever noticed. They have a very like pungent.
Ethyl oleate shouldn't smell. It's not supposed to. If it does, it's rancid. But it's one of the things.
Maybe it went a little bad or something. But next time if you get around it, next time you get around an injectable Anadrol, just happen to take a whiff of like after someone draws it, smell like the needle. So you'll smell a little of it. And you'll be like, oh, that is very signature. You'll remember.
I'm gonna look it up. All right, I'll look it up. I'll look it up too until I get some. But I gotta get on. I gotta get on trying that.
Yeah. So now I make sure I hide my Anadrol because she snuck a few shots after that. She liked it a little bit, but not enough to mess her up.
How much did you go for like dose on it?
Myself?
Yeah.
Really like 25 to 50 mgs is really all I'll need. Yeah, the people are pumping 100 and stuff. It's like, I don't know. If you telling me you don't get a pump from 25, in a strength boost, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah. What about Superdrol? Do you compare it to that, like at all? They feel pretty different to me.
I feel strength wise, I get a good strength performance from both equally to a point, but I definitely get fuller, of course, from the Anadrol. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, I definitely get fuller. I seem to be a little harder looking when I'm really in shape with Superdrol.
Oh, okay, all right, same.
Yeah,
I get a more reliable fullness from Superdrol actually, but like I have also taken Anadrol and gotten a greater fullness effect than I have with Superdrol. Like it's just been more hit or miss with Anadrol for me for some reason.
Yeah, I think the suck part too is Superdrol. Give it 10 days, 2 weeks. If you run it consistently, you feel toxic, man. Like you notice how shitty stuff is.
I hate that. Yeah, no, I feel it. Like I got to keep some Zofran on hand if I've done that. Like
Zionic, when I was growing my quad Zionic, I was hitting 100 mgs. I was doing 50 mgs in each quad, so I was doing 100 and I finally blew my legs up this year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you want to? How were you training them? You want to share that?
How have I been training them? Well,
do that.
So I pretty much, the only thing I changed this year for my training, for specifically just about everything, but my quad specifically, is I went back to the high intensity, heavyweight kind of training protocol. So kind of what I would do is, and this is probably similar to everybody's training to a point, but I used to be very high volume on everything because I used to really just try to have to hammer my legs. I couldn't really just do 6 to 8 rep sets and think that that was going to be enough. I had to mix in plenty of volume, but I noticed I just wasn't growing as efficiently as I wanted to. So I ended up just having a warm-up movement. It's kind of like old mountain dog style training. I would get a warm-up movement for my knees and my quads and just get some good warmth and blood flow, you know, with extensions and hamstring curls. And then I would do 2 high heavy working sets on my 2 best compound movements. So I'd go to like a hack squat, and then maybe I'd do like a pendulum or like a Roger squat. And I would do a touch or whatever, a feeler set first. And then I would put on my heaviest weight for 6 to 8 reps. And I would just beat the shit out of them for 2 working sets on both of those exercises. And then I would chase blood volume for the rest. And I think progressively overloading as my main goal for those first 2 movements made a world of difference, because I did the growing breakdown of tissue right away. And then I'm pumping it with all the 4 meals that I had in me all day. My blood saturated with amino acids, EFAs, and glucose. And I'm just really trying to walk out with a pump. So all of those metabolites sit right in the target muscle.
I do the same. So are you saying you do like a leg extension before like a pendulum squat?
Yeah, just in the sense of warming up. So like,
just for a warm up. Like,
yeah, so I could basically say, so very simply, I'd warm up with maybe 2 leg extensions, 2 hamstring curls, you know, 70% of my working weight. And then I'd go right into the pendulum squat. I'd warm up with one set, you know, just maybe 80% of my max weight. And then I would put on, you know, as much as I could, and I would force myself to get at least 6 reps. If I could get 8, then I wasn't lifting heavy enough. So I'd stay in that 6 to 8 rep range.
I would 2 compound movements.
Yeah, and then 2 compound movements with that strategy. And then I would go into a lot more of lunges and some more extensions, or maybe do like some really deep full range of motion, like leg presses for 20 rep sets, you know. I do the same exact thing, except I go like full out on the leg extension and curl though. Before?
Because like you can't recruit as much of that muscle, I don't think, as you can. Like you can't recruit that much quad on a leg extension as you can on a pendulum squat. I actually like the V squat. Like, so I do V squat over pendulum one before. Yep. Like I like that better, but you just can't like activate it the same way with a leg extension. It doesn't seem, you know. Yeah. So like that's where I kind of get some more volume in with the leg extension, because it doesn't fatigue me as much. And then I, you know, go balls to the wall for 2 sets, sometimes even 3 on the V squat.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing I think made a big difference too, is I allowed myself to have way more rest time between my sets on those heavy movements. So like I made
sure. You tried Nebivolol with that. Have you tried Nebivolol on those days?
Well, I take Nebivolol. I take it every day anyhow.
Yeah, me too. But I noticed a massive difference when I added it in during a mass phase. I added in 5 Nebivolol daily. And on my leg days, the recovery that I had between was like pretty significant. Really? I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but like
I might not have picked up on it just because I've been using it for so long every day to bring my heart rate down.
I felt like I was in way better shape than I was for sure for me at the time, because like normally I'd be like a 3, 4, 5 minute between heavy, intense leg sets. Like especially if I do it more like 11 reps or something like that. So like those really gas you more, and I was able to do it with like Nebivolol in like a normal 3 minutes in between interval.
Yeah, I was definitely rushing my rest periods is what I came to really, you know. And actually it's funny, my wife is the training whiz. Like she's brilliant with the program she puts together for people, and she was the one that picked up on it. She's like, I love everything you're doing. She goes, but when she's looking at my logbook, it was just pretty obvious that I could have, she picked up on, let's get a little more rest and be purposefully, like really almost getting cold. And then I could have, you know, maybe 2 or 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets, 7 sets, 8 sets, 9 sets, 10 sets, 11 sets, 12 sets, 13 sets, 14 sets, 15 sets, 16 sets, 17 sets, 18 sets, 19 sets, 20 sets, 21 sets, 22 sets, 23 sets, 24 sets, 25 sets, 26 sets, 27 sets, 28 sets, 29 sets, 30 sets, 31 sets, 32 sets, 33 sets, 34 sets, 35 sets, 36 sets, 37 sets, 38 sets, 39 sets, 40 sets, 41 sets, 42 sets, 43 sets, 44 sets, 45 sets, 46 sets, 47 sets, 48 sets, 49 sets, 50 sets, 51 sets, 52 sets, 53 sets, 54 sets, 55 sets, 56 sets, 57 sets, 58 sets, You know, so I would move it to like 3 to 4 minutes in between my sets. And then I could get a full on, as if I never had a set before, all out working set. And it worked quite good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm pretty big on the rest periods too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm also big on calling it quits, because like if it's like something like for me with chest, my strength and reps will drop off way more significantly than with like anything else. Like if I try to do 4 sets, sometimes 5, like with a cable fly, like I don't do the station, like I'll do like a pulley station over here, a pulley over here. By like the second or third set, I kind of just feel like I can't recruit my chest the same way as I could the first 2. And like that one in particular for me just really fatigues. And like I've tried to chase it with more volume, and I've tried to like be like, grow chest, what the fuck? But it actually was like served me better to try to chase intensity with that one.
Yeah.
Like the strength, like I kind of feel like I can just keep going sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think putting that heavier weight just recruits a little more mental oomph, I guess you would call it. You know, like you're forced to be in a position that I'm fighting for this, not a marathon. Like I'm getting through this set. You want to fight through your sets, not have to just endure them, if that makes sense. You know, so I think the fact that you actually went heavier and maybe a little more rest period probably actually gave you quality in those last 2 sets rather than getting through them. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, I know that sounds like hippy dippy, but
for sure
it works. You know, it makes sense.
Yeah, because like you can kind of like, I don't know, you can change the range of motion with chest flies a lot, and you can like cheat quite a bit and trick yourself into thinking you're working hard.
Yeah.
Like so, I kind of just made myself force it by doing like some type of incline press instead. Like first. Yeah.
I think next episode on Coach's Corner, we're going to talk about the epidemic. I've been meaning to talk about this epidemic, though, of poor training quality with people in intensity. I don't know what it is, but I've been in gyms for a long time, man. And 20 plus years now straight, I've been in gyms. And it's just like, it seems like now people lift like pussies more than ever. Like everything's super analyzed, super like I'm not really against the science-based lifters. I like the fact that they're trying to get quality in their form and their movements. But you got to move some fucking weight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I see people that it's just like, Jesus, what are you doing? Or it's the opposite. They're lifting so much that there's no quality to what they're doing. There's no like nice in-between thoughtful training anymore. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments if I'm way off, but it seems like the next generation that keeps coming through the gyms, these 16-year-olds, these 18-year-olds, and it's different than what it was 10 years ago. Like people don't lift hard and heavy anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm going to want to sign off after this, but I'm curious, since we're talking hard and heavy, what's your favorite back exercise?
Mine?
Yeah. Or a couple, or 2.
I'd really say, let's put it this way. If I'm really trying to just recruit overall back and not really get pinpointing on anything or get fancy, a T-bar row, man, like a chest-assisted T-bar row. I mean, if you can get really good execution and you can really drive your elbows back and if you can do it with full range of motion and still give a challenging intensity with your load, I think that's going to be the biggest bang for your buck. And it's fun. Like it's a fun, there's nothing fancy about a grip it and rip it kind of movement.
Yeah. You're in not an awkward spot either. So like you just are set up to like have as much leverage as you can with the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say that may be like a nice low row, you know, like I'm a big fan of like, you know, pulling from the belt line all the way back, maybe on a cable where you kind of set yourself to the side and try to really emphasize a little body English.
Yeah.
I like that.
With a dumbbell, incline bench with a dumbbell?
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. Like, do you ever do it with just one at a time?
Yeah, I mean, we have a nice bench at our gym that's 4 dumbbell, one-handed dumbbell rows, you know, bent over rows.
Okay.
So it's got like the setup where you put the weight in front of you. It's got a little holder, and there's a bench so you can put one leg, and there's a handle so you can switch sides.
Okay.
That's nice too. But yeah, you won't get the chest assist.
Oh, okay. Wait, even if you like on the incline bench? No, I would use an incline bench is what I do.
Oh, okay. So you're leaning chest assisted and you're doing one-handed.
Yeah, I hold the center bar of the incline bench. Like I hold it with my right arm if I'm doing my left, and then hold it with my left arm if I'm doing my right.
Gotcha.
Because you can't, it's too heavy of weight. If you're not holding on to something, you'll tip right off of it.
You're going to just tip over. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are so I guess for me, that is a favorite. But yeah, okay. That's my first favorite for going heavy, because I've noticed some benefit in going with, like, what's it when you do two at once? Bilateral and then isolateral. Like, so when I alternate with that, so like I'll do a two arm back pulling motion, and then like really be able to recruit more with that low row that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then the other one is with a cable station, like just a single one with an inclined bench also, but inclined up, and like it's kind of like a high to low row, but like out at an angle, so just in front of you basically. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a chest support from the bench, and then you're pulling like towards you, high to low, but not perfectly vertical.
Yeah, so a little bit of an altered like pull down. One-handed pull down.
It hits the meat of my lats more than anything else. Like, I don't connect with my lats the same way if I'm just pulling straight down.
Sorry, I was just putting in a comment back there.
No, you're good. Yeah, good. See,
it's one that's wicked underutilized too, I think, is just pullovers. Like
I do those too,
with a cable and straps and just pullovers. I use that, and that's really good. Have you ever heard of a DC pullover?
I don't know. What's the difference?
Justin Harris taught me it in what I don't know if you'll be able to see me do it quite well, but basically, if I'm sitting on a bench, if I'm sitting on just a cable row bench, I'll actually sit in behind the bench, so the bench is like right here, straight to me, and I'll sit on a little stool, and I take my my straps, like my tricep extension straps, and what I do is I lean flat over the bench, and then as I come back, I'm doing a pullover essentially, and by the time I'm straight, I'm rowing it back. So you're just pulling straight forward, but flattening yourself out. And so it almost looks like a pullover at the first part.
So are you kneeling? Are you kneeling or are you standing?
I'm sitting on like a little 1 foot bench, like a milk crate kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the bench is right in front of me. So I slide all the way off the bench as if I'm going to fall down, sit on a milk crate, and I literally just lean over the bench, and you do a row at the same time as pullover from the beginning of the motion. I'll have to show you a video sometime, but they call it like a DC pullover. Justin Harris is a big fan of it, and it's a really great finisher. Like you'll fill your whole back with blood by the time you're all said and done.
I do a cable pullover to finish my lats too, right after what I just told you. But like I lay on the bench facing up to the ceiling when I do it, and like I'm pulling from behind me like that. But I'm kind of like facing up to the ceiling though when I do it. Not perfectly up to the ceiling, like at an angle. But
Zionic, I didn't get too soft. I just lost interest in doing my updates. He was asking. I was doing updates of my rebound out of the show, and I think I quit doing the updates at like 16 weeks out or something, or 16 weeks post show. But they got repetitive. Like you document your off season, and it's just like, gained another quarter pound this week, guys. Only looked a quarter pound bigger.
Yeah, added 50 more units of insulin, guys, for me. But
yeah.
I haven't even thought about getting in the gym again, but that is going to be crazy when I do. Like, I don't know, because it's gonna like come back on even faster, probably, right?
Yeah, it should. I mean, muscle memory is a hell of a not a hell of a drug, but you know what I'm saying, a hell of a tactic. It is true.
Right.
You know, if I was you and you're trying to get back into it, just go to the gym, find something you enjoy doing. Like, you don't need to go from 0 to 100.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just gotta, step one's getting your ass in the gym, and then just go lift how you feel. You know,
Yeah.
get feeling better.
Definitely.
Fucking go do curls and rows only. That's all I'm gonna do. You know,
one set of each, and that's it for the first day.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, what's holding you back from getting back in though? Is it just schedule, life, and life in general?
Stuff I'm in need of putting my focus on. Let's put it that way. So so stuff that's productive, I guess. But it's life, scheduling, things being shifting in general. But that's kind of why I put this out today, kind of to just like get on and talk about direction, because I have like an arc that I would like to take over the next like 2 months, I would say, like certain things that I would like to talk about and people who I would like to talk with. Well, I think that'll be good.
Don't forget, being productive for yourself is productive in general. So it's good to get work covered, check off the list of work, life, family, everything's covered, but it's not selfish to take some time for you too and be productive. It's going to help you on the back end of feeling like complete, that you're doing everything. You're taking care of yourself, work's in line, everything else is taken care of. You know what I mean? It's part of the equation.
Oh yeah. If you can't be there for other people too, like if you're failing them, but it's
you can't leave Trenemy hanging on that one. That's a good question.
When I come back, it's gonna be my just tried and true, not my tried and true. I haven't run it a lot, but I really liked it the last time. It's just gonna be it sounds so weird, but DHB with estradiol and tren.
Really?
That's like my best stack with IGF-1 LR3, insulin, when I need it, if I need it. And then,
What do you think about the people, though, that don't have a lot of testosterone on those SHBG-based protocols, though? Like, there's some people that are not going to be, that are going to feel the effects of low testosterone, too. Like, how do you handle that when you're eliminating testosterone in these protocols?
Well, I mean, they usually get the opposite. They don't feel the lack of effect. Like the androgen effect just kind of seems to come from whatever you're taking. But the thing is like when for me, like I'm on between 66 to 99 milligrams of DHB, nothing else. That's like what I've been taking, and like I don't feel non-androgen type effect, I guess.
Okay. Gotcha. I was just curious if some people felt low T in general. They just felt like the effects of low testosterone in general. And
no.
What do they do? Hang in with it and just let it play out a little longer, or is that a ejection button scenario?
Well, I guess any effects that I would get from testosterone, I get that and more from anything else that I take, to be honest. Okay. Even when on paper, my last time I checked the total T was 23 nanograms per deciliter, wow. So I'm assuming subsequently my DHT was bottomed out too,
sure.
And then when I add test back, which I do, I've done often, I don't notice it either. So, but what happens is if let's say I've dropped down to 33 milligrams of DHB, and then that's just what it came out to. But then I had low test feeling. Then I felt like I was low T.
Yeah.
But so it's when the total milligrams dropped below a certain threshold, that's when I noticed it.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm kind of replacing it 1-to-1 with milligram per milligram for what I would use testosterone for,
then you're
more.
You feel good.
Yeah. Well, and the other people too, who have got on it too. DHB is popular. Nandrolone a lot, you see.
Yeah.
too. Like Mason I had on last week, and he was running EQ only with estradiol valerate injectable. And
Gotcha.
I don't know how many milligrams he was taking of that, but I think he was on cycle. So I'm presuming he was like on 300, 400 plus, you know. And
Gotcha.
yeah, he felt good on it. So
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah.
This is fun. I'm glad I hopped in.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you did too. And yeah, I'm happy to be talking to you.
Yeah, anytime, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be in touch, man. And everybody, thank you for coming out. Kay, it was nice to see you. You're still here. Hello. And everybody. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, appreciate it, everyone.
Yep. All right, there we go.